So, hello everyone, and welcome to our meditation time together. And as an introduction to this meditation and continuing on the theme of this week, which is Appreciative Joy, one of the very important principles for Buddhist practice is that there are plenty of ideals in Buddhism, and the topic of this week is an ideal, that idea of being able to feel joy, rejoicing, celebrating the good fortune and successes of other people. And but as with other ideals, one of the very important ways of practicing with an ideal is not to strive to attain it and to be it in some way that's a little bit manufacturing it or trying to be in a way that's not actually how we are. One way to practice with these ideals is to notice what gets in the way of it, what stands in the way, what makes it difficult for us to experience this. And so when we sit and meditate in Buddhism, we can remember that there's plenty of teachings and guidance for experiencing joy and happiness and well-being in meditation. But as useful as these are for the path of practice, it's more useful to notice what gets in the way of it, what the challenges are. And this is the realism and the pragmatism of Buddhism, to really learn how to sit with our challenges, our discomforts, our sufferings, our pains. And over time, to really learn how to sit in the midst of it, in the middle of the fire, and be free. And one characteristics of that freedom is some degree of equanimity. But in terms of joy, to recognize where we're uncomfortable, to recognize how we're feeling which is not joyful, and to sit and be quiet and still and recognize it with as non-reactive mind as we can, just to see it, is definitely part of the path of mindfulness. And as such, it's possible to feel a kind of joy or satisfaction or sense of rightness that we're meeting our life as it actually is. We're not trying to bypass what's going on, but we're learning how to really be with, see, present for all the parts of our life, and to have faith that that's part of a path that is onward leading to greater freedom. And so there's also the kind of joy of having faith that we don't just experience suffering and discomforts and these things for its own sake, but it's for the sake of learning how to walk this path of freedom and compassion. And so when we're sitting with discomfort, it's actually sometimes possible to recognize it honestly and be present for it, and then to open up, expand the perception or the consideration to include our faith in this practice, our joy or gladness in having a practice in the midst of it. It's also possible to open up more widely in the body or in our mind to see that whatever challenge we have is not the full story. It's a mind with a challenge. It's not a challenged mind. And this idea of shifting our understanding from not creating a global identity or a global kind of being our suffering, being our challenge. There's something very freeing about seeing it as I'm being present with the challenge, with the suffering, and then what else is here besides that? And there might be a wider field, wider sense of well-being or stability or compassion or care or subtleness, stability, which can hold the challenge we have. And if that goes well, there's a kind of gladness or satisfaction or joy in knowing we can do this. So learning to see through our resistance, our hindrances in relationship to our challenges, and allowing whatever difficulty we have to be very simple and see it more broadly. So taking a meditation posture, and this taking or assuming a meditation posture is actually quite important. It's the beginning of connecting and being with ourselves in a way that is bigger and broader than any limited preoccupations or orientation that we have. And to see the posture, the shape we take, the form we put our body in, as one that, if you've been meditating for some time, a homecoming. Or to assume a posture that promotes awareness, promotes being embodied and present here. Shifting our attention from our thinking to an orientation towards our embodied experience. And with this posture of meditation, whatever it might be for you, to gently, maybe kindly, take some slower, deeper, fuller breaths, as if you're nurturing and nourishing yourself, as if you're caring for yourself. Breathing in deeply, and with a caring for yourself, release and relax as you exhale. Perhaps as you release in the exhale, especially near the end of the exhale will continue a little longer than usual. And perhaps at the end of the exhale, allow there to be what might seem almost like a natural pause, momentary pause, so you can notice how the inhale will begin by itself. It's almost a feeling in the body of something wants to breathe in, and then you can give in to the beginning of the inhale. And then letting your breathing return to normal. And once again, as you exhale, let the release of the exhale also be a release of tension in your body. However small that tension is, that you can relax. Muscles of the face and around the eyes. The shoulders, the belly, and maybe the whole body as you exhale, releasing, holding, bracing, resisting. And then again, returning really fully to your body's experience of breathing. And now, ever so gently, as you exhale, especially the end of the exhale, can you relax a bit? Just so the exhale continues a little bit longer than usual. Maybe when you feels like you've come to the end of the exhale, maybe it's possible to relax something, the diaphragm, the belly. And the exhale then continues a little bit longer. And allow there to be a momentary pause, the end of the exhale, just long enough so you can feel the body's wish to begin the inhale. And allow that inhale to begin. Release yourself into the inhale. As you relax at the end of the exhale, maybe there can be a more global relaxation of the body as well. Because a sense of release, relaxing can be the whole body, almost as if there's a sense of relief throughout the whole body, to allow the exhale to be a little bit more complete. Allowing a momentary pause between the out-breath and the in-breath. And as you feel the body wanting to breathe in, maybe you can receive that inhale. Receive the movements of breathing in throughout the whole body, or in the chest, the belly, or the nose. Also at the end of the exhale, remembering to let go of whatever you're thinking about, so that the releasing, relaxing can be in the mind as well. And if there's anything pleasant in the experience of breathing, kind of a physical pleasantness, maybe with the exhale or part of the inhale, maybe in the pause, if there is one. Allow yourself to take in or receive that pleasantness that comes with breathing. And if there is nothing pleasant, that's fine. Just keep relaxing with the end of the exhale. Allow for that brief pause and receive the inhale. And then as we continue, see if you can notice any sense of discomfort, ache or pain, or whether it's physical or emotional, in the mind or the body. It could be very subtle, or it could be something that's significant. Some frustration, and then recognize that it does not define you. It's something that is with you. And see if there's some way that you can appreciate this simple, direct acknowledgement. Oh, this is how it is now. Sometimes simply admitting something we're trying to resist or pretend is not there is such a relief. Sometimes just acknowledging it fully is a relief because we're not trying to fight it or stay away from it or let go of it. See, for a few moments, let your awareness be in the middle of it. Really be with it. And perhaps the breathing, you also breathe with it. Almost imagining that you're breathing through it, or the breathing arises out of it and returns to it with the exhale. Remembering to relax as you exhale, the end of the exhale, relaxing around it and with your challenge. Remembering to be receptive as you inhale, even receptive to the difficulty. If possible, for a few moments, putting down resistance and judgments or attempts to fix or understand. Simply be with the experience in its directness and its simplicity of the moment. Breathing with it, breathing through it. And opening your awareness more widely to feel whatever sense of wholeness, goodness, well-being there might be beyond the edges of your particular challenge, discomfort. Whatever your challenge is, it does not fill the universe. It does not fill your whole being. It's a matter of opening up wider with awareness, wider in the body, so that the goodness, the well-being that's also here can be the context for our discomfort. The gladness of having a practice, the joy of faith in this process of mindfulness, the joy of not needing to be so identified or reactive to the challenge. Maybe a wider sense of well-being can hold that part of you that has no well-being, breathing through it, breathing with it. Sometimes I imagine that mindfulness, awareness, is like two cupped hands that comes from underneath whatever we're having, whatever challenges we have, and gently lets the challenge rest in the cupped hands, received by the hands that can hold it all, soft hands. So whatever the challenge or discomfort or pain you have, for a few more moments, maybe this image of holding it in your soft hands, cradling it as you know it and feel it. And that part that cradles them is not the challenge itself. It's that part of you which is not challenged, that just knows how to be present. And then coming to an end of this sitting, with your soft hands of awareness, open up your attention wider into the whole world. A world that's challenged in so many different ways. And hold the world in the soft hand of awareness. And there's much more that's going on here than the challenges of the world. There's also the wider field of all the goodness in this world. Sometimes when we open the awareness to the world, it comes to us right away. And then to spread through the world your well-wishing for the world, your appreciation for all the goodness there is in the world, that there is good fortune in the world. There are people who care, who are the helpers. And it is a generous act to the world to recognize the goodness in it. Because without goodness, there's no hope. Appreciating what is good in this world. The kindnesses and generosity and support and love that does exist. It exists in a vast scale. And may it be that you are a helper. May it be that your goodness is something that you share with others, that you join in this wide global phenomena of generosity, goodness, and love, to benefit this world, to benefit the people you know. May it be on this day that we live our life for the welfare and happiness of others. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free. So good morning, good day, and I realize I'm beginning to go over time with both the meditation and also the short talk. I plan to get back on track, but maybe it's a little bit the nature of the topic this week, appreciative joy. And so mudita, the Pali word, the Indian word for what often in English is called appreciative joy or sympathetic joy, and I like to call it this week rejoicing. It's kind of more energetic and more full experience to rejoice than just appreciate. It seems like sometimes a little bit of a small word compared to rejoicing. And in my vocabulary, rejoicing is something almost embodied, whereas appreciating is more of a cognitive thing to just appreciate. And so it's a meditation practice in Buddhism, and as a meditation practice, it has a lot of benefits. And one of them is that it helps to dissolve, soften, maybe get rid of um, the feelings we have of discontent, jealousy, envy, kind of a discontent at the success and well-being of others. And of course, it's very odd to say that we could have discontent at the joy of others. But for some people, jealousy and envy is a very big part of their lives. And maybe for many different reasons. Sometimes maybe there's historical reasons why that's been cultivated or developed in us. And or sometimes there's fear to really acknowledge the well-being of others. Or there's a comparison to ourselves, and we're discontent because, if I really admit and celebrate the success of someone else, that kind of implies that my lack of success, that I'm kind of, not really a good person somehow, or, it's a reflection on me that someone else is doing well, and I'm being left behind by life and the world or something. And these kinds of thoughts and ideas that stand in the way of feeling just genuine, real appreciation, real delight and gladness, and in seeing the gladness, seeing the joy and well-being of others, is a hindrance. It keeps us limited and keeps the heart from really opening up to be present for this life in a full way. And as I said, I've been saying that part of the function of this ideal of appreciative joy, rejoicing, is not to obligate us to feel that way, but to help us to use that as a reference point, to notice how we're still closed, to notice what keeps us in the way of opening the heart in a full and honest way. And so what we do is, as we discover that discontent, that's kind of the word in the Pali text, that for the primary hindrance to this appreciative joy. So discontent, can mean many things, but classically it's often associated with envy and jealousy, and a certain kind of conceit. And the conceit, that, this says something about me, and maybe it says something bad about me. Conceit in Buddhism, not just thinking you're better than someone else, but also that somehow you're less than someone else, or don't measure up to someone else. All this kind of concern with self-measurement and comparative thinking is a hindrance to really having the heart just open and relaxed and present. And this mindfulness practice is really a practice to really recognize what gets in the way of our open heart, our full presence to experience. And then the art of it is to notice what gets in the way, but then don't pile on more suffering, more judgments, more aversion to that. But learn how to breathe with it, open to it, learn how to hold it in the soft palms, the cupped hand of awareness. And learn to open up a little bit to that, to realize we can hold the challenges we have and the envy, the jealousy, the discontent we have in something of a wider field, a wider sense of embodiment, or enheartenment, or mindedment, that there's much more here that we can begin sensing and aware when we learn how to be present in a non-reactive way without being swept up in our thoughts and judgments about it. Just there, allowing it to be there. And then beginning to open up and feeling whatever goodness is there. And maybe part of that goodness is the part of you that wants to help, the part of you that cares about yourself and wants to kind of be and supportive for who you are. And then for mindfulness practitioners, to realize that one of the ways that we fulfill that desire to be helpful to ourselves is paradoxically not to do too much, except really hold our challenges in awareness. So something opens up, something reveals itself that has a lot of goodness and joy and well-being that's kind of beyond the edges of it. in the rest of the body, and somewhere else. And just the goodness of just having a practice. So we want to learn to recognize the hindrances to sympathetic joy. We also want to recognize, and what the tradition says, is recognize what's called the near enemy of it. And the near enemy is that which looks like this rejoicing, this mudita, but it's not really it. It's really another kind of way in which we're not really open up fully. And the tradition defines it as the gladness, the joy that is comes from. And you have to listen to this carefully, because it's I think in our English it's not going to come across maybe a little bit off, but that which comes with domestic life. And I think the word domestic life in the ancient language was really implying, it was a synonym for the joy that comes with some kind of attachment, some kind of clinging to something. And the primary one that's referred to here is something that's associated with sensual pleasure, attachment to sensual pleasure. And so if we can feel this joy in someone's engagement in sensual pleasure, wow, that was really good to get my fifth alcoholic drink of the day. I'm so happy to have it. To feel joy in that person's happiness and having 5 drinks before noon, that's not really, it's kind of sad. And so, to have joy in that kind of pleasure in someone has is not really so helpful or supportive even for a deeper process. Something like that. But I've seen it here in the United States among practitioners of mudita, the focusing on the near enemy mudita is often something a little different, and that is giddiness. So to feel joy and delight in what's happening, but to get kind of giddy about it. And giddy, I think what it means is to be a little bit clinging to something, and a little bit self-conscious, and a little bit of conceit, a little bit of over-involvement with the joy. So it kind of feels a little bit off. It's like there's this energy, there's a little bit of hyper energy involved, which is not really a settled and open, free flow of joy, but something that actually separates ourselves a little bit from the appreciation, the delight we take in a situation. And this idea there can be a kind of joy and well-being that when we gets too self-preoccupied or more concerned with itself, that we lose touch with the very thing that we're appreciating. And so at least that's what my understanding, this term giddiness, that when it's used in English for us, it's a kind of bubbling up of joy that is self-preoccupying, self-concerned, or self-oriented. And that gets in the way of this boundless feeling of appreciation, joy, delight in the well-being and the good fortune of others. And so to begin, so one of the ways to have an entry point to this world of mudita is to begin appreciating, understanding, maybe I shouldn't use the word appreciate maybe so too much, understanding what gets in the way and what's more complicated. And in doing so, it makes it much more realistic, and then we're careful not to override and jump over and do a spiritual bypass, and then for how we really are, but to really recognize who we are and recognize all our, warts and all, they say, all the shortcomings we have, all the challenges we have. And in spite of that, or with that, or because of our capacity to open to that, to be able to have a heart that's more open to experience the joy of the world, the pleasure of the world, the appreciation of all the helpers and all the goodness that's here, the success and good fortune of others. And that ability to open is really one of the primary parts of Buddhist practice. So if we can open really to our own suffering with this open heart, that very ability to open to that is the very openness that when we get up from our cushion, per se, and we encounter the beautiful things of the world, then we're just open to that now. And then there's sympathetic joy. Or if we encounter the suffering of the world, we open to that, and then we have compassion. But we're not, because the doors are open, nothing sticks. As soon as something is stuck, part of the doors are closed. And so this open door policy of the heart, keep your doors open. And slowly over time, we can learn the tremendous value of these Brahmaviharas. And one of the great ones, really great ones, that can be nourishing, can be nurturing, can be inspiring, can really fuel even the practice of the Dharma, is this appreciative joy, to rejoice in the well-being of others. So for this next 24 hours, I'd encourage you to explore this more for yourself. And notice as you go through the day, your reactivity perhaps to whatever contact you have to goodness in the world, or people celebrating or having success, and seeing if you can experience it with completely open doors of the heart, or whether you somehow resist it or close down or distance yourself from it. And with no judgments about yourself, hopefully, just get curious for one day. Become an explorer, a discoverer of the whole territory of your inner life, having to do with real deep appreciation, joy, and lack of it for the success, well-being, and goodness that you experience in other people. And in the process, let's all of us become people who can benefit the world by appreciating what can be appreciated. Thank you very much.